And welcome back to the Digital Cash Evolution. And man, I can't believe the song played while we had him on the line. John, you still there?
Man, I love that song.
All right. Well, it just got played to all of Phoenix.
You got to play like that was on purpose.
Yeah, I know it was.
Thanks, fellas.
Heck yeah. So we're going to jump into another topic real quick here with you, John. What is it backed by? You know, you always hear this. What is it backed by? You know, is there gold somewhere in a vault?
So we look at Bitcoin is backed by its properties. Same way that it's gold. If
it's backed by property?
If it's property.
Oh.
Characteristics. Is that a better word?
There you go.
You know, if you look at gold, you say, what is gold backed by? And you shake your head and, well, wait, no, that doesn't work that way. Money's supposed to be backed by gold. But if you look at gold, why gold makes good money, it's because of its properties. So there's 6 characteristics that define good money. And that's durability, portability, divisibility, scarcity, fungibility, and acceptability. That's a lot of terms. But I think really what most people relate to is that scarcity property. So if you look at gold, we know it has value because of all of its properties, but one of the most important is that scarcity.
Mm-hmm.
So
you need to add one more topic. Shiny.
Yeah. Jewelry. That's one property that Bitcoin doesn't have, you know.
And well, John, what's your take on what is Bitcoin backed by?
Man, I've got to go back again. I've got to say, you know, if you're talking about the Bitcoin, the currency is backed by this cryptographically secured network. You know, we're talking about a value transfer network. The tech is what exists and cannot exist separate from BTC. If you don't know, folks, Bitcoin, the currency, is called BTC.
Yeah,
right?
so do not send BCH to your BTC wallet.
Exactly.
There's a big another real quick term, and let's get that out there so people know. Bitcoin Cash is not Bitcoin. It's not the same. Don't get confused. They're on the same blockchain, but please don't send your Bitcoin to your Bitcoin Cash wallet. You will lose it. So don't be fooled by somebody's terminology just because they feel a certain way about it.
Yeah, I think that's really important. And so when we talk about BTC, Bitcoin, you cannot extract that or talk about that separate from Bitcoin with a capital B, the word spelled out, Bitcoin. That is the Bitcoin blockchain. That is the Bitcoin protocol, the computer technology. One cannot exist without the other. If you try to take BTC, the token, away, Bitcoin could not work. That's the way that it works is by way of the token, and the way that the token works is by way of the technology. So there's a symbiotic relationship between the two. One cannot exist without the other. So when people say, what's backing Bitcoin? I can say, well, absolutely. The technology is an integral part of the token. So if you have this technology that looks by all metrics like it is going to continue to sweep across the world, changing every single industry that we know, this technology, right? Just as the internet did, but even in a more intense way than ever before. That is precisely what is backing this token. As we see this technology grow on this exponential growth curve of adoption and everything else, guess what's going along for the ride? That's BTC, the token, inextricably tied to the technology. And so anybody who says the price of that is not going to go up, or the popularity of that, the usage of that is not going to go up, they're simply denying that the technology is going to continue and thrive. And right. By all metrics, it is thriving right now in real time.
Yeah, it is essentially digital gold that cannot be duplicated. So that's right. A kind of an easier way for somebody that doesn't really understand any of these terms to kind of think about it. And why is that? Because this digital gold, it cannot be duplicated because it would cost you billions of dollars to try to attack the network to change that ledger that we spoke about in the previous segments.
And to speak to our audience here too, I think, speaking of that scarcity, I think one of the other concerns and comments that I get from people is, well, I don't trust it because I don't understand it. And that is a completely fair assessment. So I usually kind of have two approaches to that question and that concern. The first being, how much do you actually know about how our current money works? Or like John is saying, money is only one application of Bitcoin. If you say, how well do you actually know how the plumbing, the inner workings of the internet, how that actually works? The second thing I would say is what's so important about Bitcoin is that it's open source, or at least another important characteristic of Bitcoin is that it's open source. And so what that means is people much smarter than me can go in and have been going in.
So you're talking about most of the people in this room
most of
already.
the people, yeah, that can go in and review that code line by line. None of it is hidden. It's completely open source software. So the brightest minds in the world are working on Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency space right now, and no one has been able to find a fatal fundamental flaw in Bitcoin that is big enough to bring it down, per se.
Well, and it's open source, so anyone can contribute to the code. What prevents malicious code from being contributed?
Well, there's a review process involved, and that gets into probably some higher level than we're usually going to try to cover on this show. But like I said,
well, John, do you have a take on that? What keeps malicious code from being added into Bitcoin and suddenly I can copy my gold?
Well, I'm not much of a tech guy, but suffice it to say that every black hat hacker, meaning every bad guy who has tried to hack the Bitcoin technology, and every bad government, or every bad actor within a government that's tried to bring Bitcoin down, they've all failed. So yes, there have been many attempts to insert malicious code and to bring Bitcoin down or to destroy Bitcoin or taint it in some way, and they've all failed. So yeah, he's right. Actually, if you want to get into the actual details of how the Bitcoin code is protected, you're looking at a technical discussion that's probably beyond where any of us are. I don't know.
Yeah, we're pretty much all dummies. We're all dummies, and we're trying to speak dummy language to the people, that are listening, so they don't get intimidated.
I think it's important to distinguish for a lot of people that have heard and read news stories about how Bitcoin's been hacked, or there has been a failure of some kind of, money is stolen, Bitcoin is stolen, cryptocurrencies.
Every time stories, they all have one thing in common. What is that?
They are centralized, meaning there is a company behind. So Bitcoin, the technology, has never been hacked. There are many companies. Some of you have heard. Yeah,
it's these third parties. So it's like
most of them are custodial, meaning they're holding your Bitcoins for you, which we are always going to advocate being in control of your own Bitcoin, and that is, going back to the wallets that we want to explain to you guys how to secure and download and get your wallets going. But all of these failures, the bad press you hear and the things you see on the news, it's always a company that failed. It's never Bitcoin itself. So they can be very misleading to the general public. If you're not well educated on Bitcoin, it's easy to be deceived and think that there is a problem with the actual
technology.
I
can't trust a trading card company or what?
I can't trust anyone, Danny. Don't trust, verify.
The weakest link is always the end user. Yeah. When it comes to cryptocurrency, you have to take responsibility for your own coins.
That's true.
When you want to go ahead.
We can talk about the one other terminology here that I had pulled up we were looking at is blockchain is another word that gets thrown a lot. And blockchain, just to define, is the technology that powers all of the cryptocurrencies. And so that's Bitcoin.
That's when you take a block and you wrap a chain around it and someone pisses you off, you throw them in the river. Is that a blockchain?
No. They weren't talking. We're not. There's no swimming with the fishes in crypto.
Okay.
The blockchain is the underlying technology. When we talk about, people say, "I don't understand it. I don't understand how it works." Blockchain is the mechanism through which we have verifiability that Bitcoin or any other cryptocurrency can't be copied.
Right. These blocks stack on top of each other, and they link in a chain as a blockchain, and that's each 10-minute version of all the transactions are in one chain and revert back to the one before and before and before each and every 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And that's basically what a blockchain is.
It's basically the ledger of every blockchain or Bitcoin transaction that has happened since the beginning.
And we will be right back.